My name is Erhardt Graeff, and I'm a founding member of the Web Ecology Project. And the Web Ecology Project is a collaborative network of people that basically hack on social data in order to study online culture for fun. And as you may imagine, this has brought up a lot of ethical quandaries regarding research into this data, and I wanted to share a personal kind of story of this ethical quandary for myself. And all of my best stories involve me being injured, so that's how this one starts. Back in 2004, I was a research intern at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. And I don't know if you've ever been to Fairbanks, Alaska, but it's absolutely beautiful. And all of my fellow interns and I were totally excited about getting outdoors. And I took up mountain biking, which I had never really done before, and I'm exploring the campus on my mountain bike, and I wasn't that good at making decisions about whether or not I could go over a certain hill or not. And so one hill I went over was actually more like a small cliff, and I went past my handlebars, fell on my head, and broke my collarbone. And it was pretty ugly. I had never actually broken a bone in my body before. I left this photo in black and white because I didn't want to make the gory details of the colors that are actually being produced by my chest freak you out. But within a week after having this injury, I had to give my final presentation as an intern. What I was actually doing that summer was working at the Arctic Region Supercomputing Center and doing some really cool stuff with a professor named Miho Aoki. And she was really interested in these immersive environments. They had a discovery lab there, they called it, which had a cave environment. I don't know if you know this virtual reality technology, cave automatic virtual environment, but allows you to explore a 3D world that you build, using a supercomputer and all these projections and walk through it. So we were building a traditional Japanese home in 3D. And we had like the traditional mats and the table and the shrine in the corner. And she wanted to use this for culture and language teaching. She had this idea for flash cubes, which are like flashcards in 3D space that would have the kanji and the kana and the pictogram on there, so you could learn the words while exploring through this space. And the idea was to bring a whole group of people into this cave and really allow it to have that experience. And I loved this idea. And it was only made possible because of the system, which took data from you using a couple of kind of simple devices, a headwear piece that would use radio frequencies to tell you where you were in the space, and then a wand that would allow you to manipulate the world and explore it that way. And 8 years later, I think about Alaska a lot because I still have pins in my right shoulder from the surgery. And I've been thinking a lot about it in terms of the ethics of research because while I don't have access to $1 million cave anymore, I see these caves and the wands that we use to manipulate them everywhere. There are smartphones, right? The iPhone has the capabilities of creating immersive worlds and allowing you to explore these spaces in new and unique ways. And I see these as almost nested, right? You can have caves within caves when you connect this up to your social network, which I see a lot of youth that I research using, right? And it kind of freaks me out in one way because I see a paradigm shift happening where I remember the Discovery Lab being all about exploring your world and a little bit of data helping the system do that. I feel more and more like the spaces in these new caves are actually exploring us with all of the data that they're collecting. And that kind of freaks me out because I know that data is no longer going into the supercomputer that's in the same room as me and powering the display. It's actually going up into the cloud and being collected by these corporations that run these sites. And from a privacy standpoint and a person who researches youth, that causes me some ethical concern. But it also really excites me, I'm going to be honest. As a web ecologist, we're really interested in experimental data spaces. How can we turn like a social media platform like Facebook into a lab where we use the ability to survey all of the people that are on it to really understand the context of behavior and culture that's happening there. And so I'm excited about the sexy opportunity here. One of the best examples, I think, is Deb Roy's work at the Media Lab. He had a TED Talk where he talked about basically putting cameras throughout his entire room, or through every room in his house, and recording all of the voices that his son was making right after being born. And he was able to trace the evolution of the language of his son being able to say the word water in both place and time using this technology. And as a researcher who's studying youth and bullying, how awesome would it be to grab all of the data from cell phones, from the social networks, from the cameras that are in the school, from the cameras that are on the sides of the school, to really understand that phenomenon. Of course, this raises some real questions. If I could do this, should I do this? And then, of course, as an academic, if I want to do this, is there anyone in this room that can help me write the IRB application? Because I think that's going to be really tricky. If you have any ideas, please, tap me on my shoulder. My last one's a good one later on. Thank you.